Beginning October 1, 2025, the U.S. will impose sweeping new tariffs on imported branded and patented pharmaceuticals, marking one of the most aggressive trade interventions in the healthcare sector in recent decades. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. Former President Donald Trump announced via social media that any such pharmaceutical product imported into the country will face a 100% tariff, effectively doubling the cost of drugs, unless the producing company has already begun constructing a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility in the United States. There will be no tariff on these pharmaceutical products if construction has started, Trump stated, though he provided no further clarification regarding which companies or products would be immediately affected. The announcement comes amid a broader set of tariffs aimed at multiple industries. Alongside the pharmaceutical levy, imported heavy trucks will face a 25% duty, kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities will be hit with a 50% tariff, and upholstered furniture imports will be taxed at 30%. Collectively, these moves constitute a rapid expansion of Trump's trade policy framework, which he has systematically built since taking office. Experts describe this approach as unprecedented in modern times. Political analysts note that Trump has leveraged executive authority more assertively than any recent predecessor, shaping trade policy in real time and using tariffs not just as economic levers but as tools for political negotiation. This aggressive posture coincides with other high-profile political events, including the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey on perjury charges, an event interpreted by many observers as signaling a highly combative executive approach to both politics and economic policy. Deborah Elms, head of trade policy at the Heinrich Foundation, told Bloomberg Television, "Trump is never going to be done with tariffs." She highlighted that the administration's use of trade levies extends beyond a single sector or moment in time, signaling an ongoing strategy to reshape U.S. trade, production, and supply chains in a way that prioritizes domestic manufacturing. Although the announced 100% tariff headline is dramatic, the policy leaves significant details unclear. Exemptions appear to be allowed for companies with a U.S. presence, particularly those actively constructing new domestic facilities. However, the criteria for exemption, construction milestones, and compliance verification processes remain unspecified. Industry leaders have expressed concerns about navigating these ambiguities while planning multi-billion-dollar investments in domestic facilities. Bloomberg Economics estimated that the new tariff could increase the average U.S. tariff rate by approximately 3.3 percentage points. However, exemptions for domestic production could substantially mitigate the financial impact. Countries most exposed to the tariffs include Switzerland and Singapore, two global pharmaceutical manufacturing hubs, as well as the United Kingdom and Japan, which also export a significant volume of drugs to the U.S. market. Many of the world's largest drug makers have already announced investments in U.S. manufacturing. Companies such as Merck & Company, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, and Novo Nordisk have pledged billions of dollars to expand domestic production in recent years, largely in response to repeated warnings from Trump regarding potential tariffs on imported drugs. Even companies with existing U.S. operations could face scrutiny. Analysts warn that the speed and scale of construction and production will likely be closely examined, creating uncertainty around which products will actually qualify for tariff exemptions. The tariffs are being implemented under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, which allows the president to impose duties on imports deemed a national security threat, bypassing Congress. Historically, Section 232 has been used to impose tariffs on steel, aluminum, automobiles, and copper. Using it in the pharmaceutical sector is unprecedented, reflecting the administration's view of drug supply chains as critical to national security, particularly in emergencies like pandemics or global supply disruptions. The administration's use of Section 232 in pharmaceuticals is expected to face legal scrutiny. Industry groups have already expressed concern that the policy may violate trade agreements or exceed the legal authority of the president. Similar tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act are currently under review by the U.S. Supreme Court, and Section 232's application to drugs could invite comparable challenges. Countries most exposed to these tariffs, Switzerland, Singapore, Japan, and the United Kingdom, may face significant economic impact, with billions of dollars in U.S.-bound pharmaceutical exports potentially affected. The policy may also influence ongoing trade negotiations. Switzerland. Home to global pharmaceutical giants like Novartis and Roche, Swiss exports to the US are substantial. Tariffs could prompt Swiss companies to accelerate US investments. Singapore. Many multinational pharmaceutical firms maintain production hubs in Singapore. Tariffs could force companies to relocate production, raising operational costs. United Kingdom. Although trade agreements with the US allow some flexibility for tariffs under Section 232, there is no formal mechanism for mitigating the full impact. Japan. Key life-saving drugs are manufactured in Japanese facilities. The tariffs could incentivize Japanese companies to expand production stateside, accelerating long-term supply chain realignment. While the tariffs are designed to incentivize domestic production, the immediate effects on drug pricing could be significant. Many of America's most widely used medications are still produced abroad. Without U.S. manufacturing exemptions, tariffs could effectively double the cost of imported drugs, potentially increasing prices for patients, insurers, and healthcare systems. Some experts argue the impact may be mitigated over time. Domestic investments by major pharmaceutical companies may eventually increase local production capacity, stabilize supply chains, and reduce dependency on foreign facilities. In the short term, however, the policy could create temporary disruptions, supply delays, and higher costs for critical medications. The tariff plan is part of a broader strategy to reduce U.S. reliance on foreign supply chains, particularly in sectors deemed critical to national security. Recent reports indicate that the administration is considering similar measures for. Additionally, an executive order signed in May 2025 seeks to reduce U.S. drug costs by aligning them with the lowest prices internationally. Companies are encouraged to comply voluntarily, but regulatory actions are possible for noncompliance. Trump's tariffs on pharmaceuticals are also a negotiation tool, according to analysts. Anna Wu, cross-asset strategist at Van Eck Associates, noted that the repeated threat of tariffs serves to pressure companies into accelerating U.S. investment and reducing reliance on foreign production. The approach combines regulatory pressure, fiscal incentives, and trade restrictions into a single strategy aimed at reshaping the pharmaceutical industry. The administration has set deadlines for compliance. 17 of the largest drug manufacturers were asked to voluntarily lower prices for government-purchased drugs and align pricing for new medications with international benchmarks. Failure to meet these benchmarks could trigger tariffs or other enforcement actions, effectively creating a high-stakes environment for global pharmaceutical companies. The tariffs, executive orders, and ongoing investigations reflect a multi-pronged strategy that could have profound long-term consequences for the U.S. and global pharmaceutical markets. Key implications include: experts warn that while the policy aims to incentivize U.S. manufacturing, abrupt implementation could disrupt access to critical medications, particularly for rare or life-saving drugs. On the other hand, successful domestic investments could strengthen national security, reduce supply chain vulnerabilities, and stabilize long-term drug costs. The U.S. pharmaceutical tariff overhaul represents a historic intervention in global trade and healthcare markets. Companies that fail to demonstrate commitment to domestic production may face punitive tariffs, while those investing in U.S. facilities could enjoy significant exemptions. The policy underscores the administration's commitment to economic nationalism, using trade, regulation, and fiscal measures to reshape domestic production and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains. As multinational companies adjust their strategies, governments weigh diplomatic and economic responses, and regulators clarify enforcement, the pharmaceutical industry enters a period of unprecedented change and uncertainty. The world will be watching closely as tariffs, investments, and negotiations play out, potentially transforming global pharmaceutical supply chains for years to come.